Welcome to the Handycast for Monday, February the 24th. I'm Charles Hanagriff, along with former Tiger coach Dan Canevari. And LSU now 2 weeks into the season, taking 2 out of 3 from Omaha. Hey, Dan, it seemed a little bit strange to be playing a team called Omaha. Just, I don't know, it's kind of quirky. Yeah, that's the old
It's
UNO.
quirky. It's nice to play a team from Omaha
Yeah.
here instead of playing in Omaha, which is basically a home game for LSU. But I got a couple texts from some former players and everything because we used to practice and take BP at their field when it was the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Yeah.
And so as I told them, my arm hurt when they sent that message. When I saw Omaha on their jersey, my arm started hurting from all the BP that was thrown out there.
I can remember going to see practices at UNO. I can remember going to see practices. You remember the old Creighton field? It was like
Creighton,
half turf.
the old Creighton field, and then we practiced at a couple of high schools. Skip had a favorite high school we practiced at.
I remember the name of it. You remember the name?
No, I can't remember.
It was Bellevue.
Bellevue West.
Bellevue, either Bellevue West or Bellevue East. It was
No,
one
it was
of each.
Bellevue West. I
Yeah,
remember the West part.
the
Yeah,
Thunderbirds. The
the T-Birds.
Thunderbirds. Yeah.
Yeah, we went up there. That was our favorite spot. And but I remember at University of Nebraska, Omaha, now Omaha. It was like we go out to practice, and Skip would be in the third base dugout and be a all practice press conference.
Yeah.
Skip would be holding court.
He had that wireless mic. You remember back in
Oh,
the
he loved
box,
it.
and he was fantastic. All kind of media availability, man. It was just very media friendly. Hey, before we get into the games, Dan, what what about a team going from week 1 to week 2? We talk about this a lot in football, but that change from week 1 to week 2 where you work out some of the kinks. But for baseball, you know, everybody's all amped up for opening day. It's exciting, as the off season's over. We're in the season, and it's great. There's a full house in the park on opening night. And all that. In week 2, you're not to conference play yet, but that newness has worn off. So I thought they looked a little listless at the plate from late in the Friday game all the way. I mean, no hits, obviously, but I thought the focus maybe waned a little bit there from maybe the sixth, seventh inning on Friday, well into the game on Saturday.
Well, as you notice, even the first weekend, you kind of after the opening night, you kind of drifted down a little bit. The adrenaline and the enthusiasm. Not that it's they're not enthused, but remember, this is a new team, Charlie. Basically,
Yeah.
you got a lot of new players, and it's natural. They went out and won the weekend, and then they beat Southern in 7 innings, and now you go out and it's Omaha, and it's not Texas A&M, and so these guys kind of say, "Well, we're going to get this one." Now, as a coach, you try everything you can do to tell them don't do that, but they're going to do it. It's just a natural thing, but it's a learning lesson. And unfortunately, they had to take one on the chin this weekend to get that lesson in full time. Don't take anything away from Nebraska, Omaha, or Omaha, University of Omaha. But those things are real and they're learning experiences. And the one good thing about baseball is you're going to play 56.
Yeah, and then the other thing, and listen, everybody's got to play in the same conditions, but it was cold, it was wet, this was not an overflow crowd by any stretch of the imagination. So the electricity, the excitement, not there. There was there on opening weekend, I thought.
Plus, the ball didn't carry well.
Yeah.
It was tough to carry. We're a big, strong team, and we have probably one of the biggest teams, average height and weight in the country. And so, we're supposed to hit homers. And, come April and May when the weather changes and the ball starts carrying, you're going to see a different kind of club.
We're brought to you by Marucci Sports, the Hitter's House, 5801 Segan Lane, and on Airline Drive in Metairie. Members access 24/7 to the cages and plus bullpen cage reservation opportunities. 15% discount off the retail store items, and all of the Marucci aluminum and composite bats are available. Of course, fielding gloves, batting gloves for both baseball and fast pitch softball, the BB Core, the Custom Pro bats, the USSSA, T-ball bats also as well. Marucci Sports, founded and operated by current and former big leaguers. They're dedicated to quality and committed to providing athletes at every level what they need to be successful. To check them out, go to MarucciSports.com. Now let's talk about game one. Cade Anderson went out and gave him another good outing. talk to me about starting pitchers going from week 1 to week 2. You're on, some loose pitch counts here. He got it up to 79 pitches. A little bit ran out of gas. I thought maybe in the sixth a little there, but another good outing for Anderson.
Yeah, good outing for Anderson. Again, he went out on a Friday night and did what he's supposed to do. He gave his team a chance to win, in the ball game, and that's always big. The biggest thing for him is, again, you look at the strikeouts to walks, 2-8. He only faced 21 batters, and gave up 2 earned runs, only 3 hits. That's a good outing. When you leave the game and it's only 2 runs on a Friday night, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I always thought you're the pitching coach. Week 1, you've got a pitch count. It's somewhere probably around 75, 80, 85 on the high end. And then, you kind of ramp that up a little bit. In week 3, you're pretty close to being ready to go as long as the weather's okay. And then week 4, you can turn them loose.
Well, here's the other thing too, Charlie. When you're preseason, all fall, you're going out there with pitch counts and you're pitching and you've got some adrenaline. But remember, he pitched last Friday night, opening night, lots of adrenaline, and went out there and really competed. And so the recovery is a little different. It's not the same recovery as you had all fall or early spring playing, inter-squad games. This is like you're going out there for real. You're going out Friday night, and now you got to come back in a week, and you got to get it back. And, of course, he did well, and then he's going to extend, and hopefully this coming weekend, get up to 100 pitches, maybe 90 to 100 pitches and be strong at the end. And that's just the start of the season. You've got to do that. You got to push your pitchers.
The other thing was we saw him mix in the changeup much more so than in week number 1. In fact, I don't know. He threw a couple, if any, in week number 1. But we saw the changeup a little bit on Friday.
Right. Changeup is a big part of his game now. Coach Yeski has brought that into his game. That's really going to help his fastball because he's got a great swing and miss fastball. The ball comes out funny. They don't read the ball. He's left-handed. It's got a lot of movement. It's high velocity. But when you put a changeup in with it that looks like the fastball, and then with that great curveball he's got, that's a 3-pitch weaponry that they've really got to bring in by the time he gets to the SEC, and that's what they've been working towards all fall and all this spring.
All right, let's get into the bullpen. Connor Benj came in to get them out of the 6th inning. He did that. When we get to the Saturday game, we'll talk about his bounce back. But, Dan, it looks like he's the kind of guy that they want to come and get you out of the inning with runners on base. Ordinarily, that involves a really good breaking ball, but I think his best pitch is a fastball. He's up there at 94, 95, and he got him out of this inning. And then they asked him to come back on Saturday. That outing wasn't as good, but they're testing things out here to see if they can have a bounce back with Connor Benj.
Right. You've got to check things out at this point in the season. I think even when you look at not just the pitching, but you look at the lineups that Jay played all weekend, he's still getting people in, getting people out, trying to figure it out. But you're right. They need a bounce back guy. They need a guy that can pitch 2 days in a row, short relief, much like major league guys. Come in and get us out of the inning. And that's your job. And so hopefully, he continues to handle that role with a good amount of efficiency.
All right, so they asked him to come back. They did not ask that of Maverick Rizzi or Kason Evans, but they're going to. It's only a matter of when. Both of these guys are high velocity guys, and even with the weather, bringing things down a tick or so, Dan, Rizzi and Evans, who pitched the last 3 innings on Friday night, really dialed it up there. Evans get to 99, man, and Rizzi's 6'9". These are going to be high usage guys out of the LSU bullpen.
I think that the case is true there, Charlie. And I think knowing that they're going to see if they can come back and be effective, maybe on 1 day's rest or on back-to-back days, and try to figure that out. If they're not able to do that at a high level of efficiency, look for them to be 2 or 3 inning guys coming out of the pen, one time.
The other thing I wanted to talk about in this game was Luis Hernandez. He's caught 4 of the 7 games. He and Aaron Beatty are kind of on I don't want to call it a platoon, but they're splitting time right now. Hernandez had 3 doubles on the weekend, Dan, and what I really liked about it is 2 of them went to the opposite field, into that right center field gap. He did not catch at Indiana State very much, just a little bit, and now he's being asked to handle that. The question I had at the beginning of the season was, would the bat suffer? So far, it hasn't.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's no doubt that he is a good hitter. a very good hitter, and his bat's going to be in the lineup at in whatever position, DH, first base if Jones takes the day off, or behind the plate. The one thing I was impressed with for a guy that hadn't caught a lot is he threw the ball well. And I think that's important. I think his receiving will improve as he catches more and more. So I think he's very solid back there. So I think there's going to be a lot of competition, a lot of movement back and forth, and hopefully no one gets injured and you keep everybody fresh because you've got two catchers that are very, very, very capable at this level.
Brought to you by Dependable Storage with 8 locations across Louisiana and 1 in Gulfport, Mississippi. They'll match any competitor's pricing on online with convenient online rentals and payments. They offer free use of their moving truck for new rental move-ins and facilities that are clean, secure, and conveniently located. Check out the website at dependablestorage.com for locations, pricing, and rentals. Like Skip Bertman always said, at Dependable Storage, we want your stuff. In the game on Saturday, first let's talk about some lineup changes. They moved Daniel Dickinson into the leadoff spot. They had 3 different leadoff hitters in as many games, and they moved Derek Curiel into center field. So Stanfield, who had a rough day on Friday, struck out 3 times, was out of the lineup on Saturday. Dickinson to the leadoff spot and Curiel to center field. What did you think about those 2 moves?
I think it's a chance to see some flexibility, check out some different lineups. Early in the season, you got to try different combinations and kind of put that jigsaw puzzle together. I think Dickinson, is a very solid hitter. He's played a lot. I think it was a good move by Jay. Obviously, he saw some things, maybe the reaction to having 3 strikeouts or where Stanfield felt he was, or maybe it was something Jay was looking for where, hey, I want to see if Curiel can play center field in a ball game. So, again, Jay's searching for things. He's looking for different combinations. Again, the other thing you do is early in the year when you do these types of things, someone gets injured. You've already put a guy in a position where he might have to play during the year. So, again, I think Jay's using these games, and the game he's got going on tonight, he's going to use these types of games to find out a lot of things about his team and his lineup.
With Curiel, obviously he's going to be a big part of this lineup. The center field piece, somebody asked me this weekend who he reminded me of, and the guy said, does he remind you of Mike Kerner? And I said, well, the thing with Kerner was he was swinging a nuclear bat, so the home run totals got up there pretty high. I don't know that that'll happen with Curiel, but I think he's probably going to hit for average maybe a little bit more than Mike did. But he is a terrific athlete, Dan. He covers Kerner's one of my favorite center fielders of all time come through here because he covered so much ground. I don't know if I only saw the 1 game, so I don't know if Curiel is going to be able to cover that much ground. But does he remind you of anybody else?
Well, of course, he's left-handed. You got to remember Armando Rios played center field.
Yeah.
A guy that not a lot of power, but had power when you need it in Omaha. And Armando was a great center fielder as well. Again, I'm with you. Mike Kerner, one of my favorite players of all time. Great center fielder. Not quite Dylan Cruz. I don't think anybody is. But from the left side, Mike was a great competitor, and I think that's where Curiel goes. Curiel might be a better average hitter than Mike. Curiel's got a lot of skills.
Yeah, and then the bats are so much different. So don't look at the home run total.
Yeah, you can't look at the power numbers. It's not comparable.
Anthony Ianson, I thought to start this game, I thought he was even sharper than the first week, Dan. He's obviously got superior command. It seems like he works ahead a lot, but I thought the fastball was better this week than it was in week number 1.
Yeah, I thought he had a better fastball. I think it's going to continue to ramp up. 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, commanded the strike zone. Great pitcher, got a lot of experience. And so I like where they have him placed right in the middle of the 2 hard-throwing lefty, a righty that's not a flamethrower, but a very good pitcher, moves the ball around, has command of the strike zone. And then, when you come in, at the end, with Chase Shores throwing 97, that's a great combination. The hitters don't get the same look.
So Ianson dialed the pitch count up to 93, so he makes that progression, much like Shores did. We'll get to him in a second. After 6 innings, a couple things were going on. Number one, Ianson had not given up a run, but Omaha had not given up a hit. You get into the 7th inning of a game in February, and you don't expect to be no hit, but that's what was going on when they brought Grant Fontenot in. There was the first batter he faced, Danny, he gets him 0-2, and then he throws a pitch in on the hands that they ruled hit the batter, and then they went to look at it. They looked at it for a long time. And it was very close. I'm not going to offer you a definitive opinion one way or the other, or whether this hit the hands or the bat handle or nothing at all. But what I do know is that I thought it threw Fontenot out of rhythm. That review probably took in real time somewhere close to 4, maybe even 5 minutes. And I thought Fontenot, they eventually ruled that he did hit him, and he goes down to first base. And the next guy he hits in the head. So I thought again, not to make an excuse, I'm just telling you what happened in the game. I thought that he comes out there and he pumps 2 strikes right through there. And then with the long review, I thought it really rattled him in the game.
Well, he's got to get used to things like that. That's like getting a rain delay or having an inning end, early, and then get back out there having a long inning. So he's got to make those adjustments. I think you're right. I think it rattled him a little bit. Some pitchers get rattled when they hit a guy, but also with that long delay, like you said, Charlie, that just had too much time to think about it. If he had a long delay after striking a guy out, it would have been different. So mindset is everything. Pitchers have to be tough-minded. And, again, learning experience for Grant Fontenot.
Yeah. And so Connor Bench comes in, and this is the second time. Now, he only threw 7 pitches in the game on Friday, but they're asking him to come back and get him out of this. Now you got 2 on and nobody out. He promptly throws the ball in the center field on a second base pickoff move, and I thought he got a little rattled. He ends up giving up a hit. Then he gets 2 outs, and then the death knell is the 3-run homer. I thought it was maybe the only really bad pitch that he made. But again, I thought he got a little shook up when he threw the pickoff throw in the center field. Then he gets back into the inning, but then he gives up the 3-run bomb.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's again putting him in a new role, trying to have him come back to back.
What's that like for a pitcher to have to do that for the first time this year?
Yeah, first time is tough. You're a little sore. You were out yesterday. The adrenaline was pumping. A lot of these guys, remember, a lot of these guys coming in that you're seeing were starters their whole life. And so now you're asking them to come in a relief role. Now you ask them to come back to back. They've got to learn how to get themselves ready. So, again, I'm going to continue with this until we get to SEC play, because after you get to SEC play, you can't say this. It's going to be a learning experience. It's going to be experimental, and you got to find where guys are going to fit so that it works well.
Cooper Williams pitched the final 2 innings. He was perfect, and he stays perfect on the year. He's faced 9 batters, and he's gotten all 9 batters out. So good to go there. And then LSU got themselves back in the ballgame. They did not get a hit until the 8th, but in the 9th, they put together a threat. They got the go-ahead run, what would have been the winning run to the plate when they're down 3, and the bases are loaded, and here comes Jared Jones. Now, I liked this at bat, Dan. The crowd, which had been, pretty much dead all day because, LSU didn't have any hits until late in the game, so they didn't have a lot to get excited about offensively. So here comes Jones, and everybody in the park's thinking the same thing, right? The big guy's going to hit one out, and we're going to go home and win this thing 6-5. And the first,
it's that easy, Charlie.
Sure, exactly. And the first 2 swings, it looked like Jones was swinging for, Port Allen. He was going to drive the ball right over the bridge. But when he goes 0-2, then he bears down and he pokes a single to center field on the 0-2 pitch. I like the at-bat. I get that he's amped up. He wants to win the game right there. But when he got behind in the count, he makes the adjustment and he gets a base hit and keeps the rally going.
That's the sign of a kid that's played 3 years and is a mature hitter. 2 years ago, he would have struck out on that pitch or take it. So, he's really grown as a hitter, and knowing that, hey, just keep the line moving, keep the chain going, and, take your shots early on. But then when you get to 2 strikes, you got to fight, you got to battle, you got to do what it takes to keep the at-bat alive. So I was real pleased with that at-bat, and, let the next guy pick you up. You don't have to be the hero every single time.
Another good play that was made in this inning was by the freshman Curiel, who was at second base with 1 out, and the ball gets away from the catcher. Not far, but his secondary lead was good, and he gets a good jump, and he runs really well. Bang bang play at third, Dan. They looked at this a long time, and I think that if the third baseman's leg is not in the way, they would have had a clear shot of whether the tag got him or not. They looked at this one a long time. LSU got the call here, and Curiel is in at third base. That's just a real heads up play for a kid. He's the tying run. It's the bottom of the ninth inning, and to get to third base with one out, there's times where you take chances and times where you don't. This was the time to take a chance because that base really meant something, and
Sure.
Curiel was aware of that and got the base.
It could have won the game for him. Remember, you want to get a guy to third base with less than 2 outs. It gives you a great chance to score. If he's at second, you got to have a single. So you get a fly ball or an error or a swinging bunt or whatever. Here's what people have to understand, though. They're trained, and Curiel's a good base runner. Guys are trained to read a curveball in the dirt, meaning when they're at second base and they take their secondary lead, if they see the ball going into the dirt, you take off immediately in certain situations, like in this one, where you want to take the extra base. So you don't wait for the ball to go in the dirt and the catcher to block it and pick it up. You see it going, you see the break, you see it's going in, and you take off. What made it a great play is that second base is the hardest play to read, hardest base to read that play. At first base, you have a better angle. Second base, you really have to focus in on the pitch. And I think he did a great job in that little split second that he didn't take to see the ball go in the dirt to lead before really was the difference in safer out.
I got a little chuckle when you said it. Now it takes a base hit. Every time I hear that, I hear Jim Hawthorne saying, "Now it'll take a base hit, an error, a wild pitch, or something," and then Morris hit the ball out of the park. For 25 years of experience, Lake Urgent Care is dedicated to providing quality care close to home. They treat minor illnesses and injuries for ages 3 months and up at 17 convenient locations, including Baton Rouge, Hammond, and Livingston and Ascension parishes. Plus, they offer occupational health and weight loss solutions. As a seamless extension of Our Lady of the Lake, patients can access care from anywhere with the MyChart patient portal. The urgent care centers are open 7 days a week. You can walk in, check in online, or schedule a virtual care visit at lakeurgentcare.com. We get into the second game on Saturday, and here's something else that you don't want bad weather. You don't want to have to rearrange your schedule too much. But Dan, I didn't hate this from a standpoint of there may be a day somewhere in the postseason where you got to play 2 games in one day. And we hope that they stay in the winner's bracket all the way, but there may become a time in the regional where you got to play 2 games in one day. It's nice to at least have a dress rehearsal for that. I'm just trying to look for a little silver lining in the guys having to stick around the ballpark for about 10 hours on a day where the weather was not real nice.
I tell you what, I agree with you on that. You always got to learn how to play doubleheaders. It's different mindset. You got to rest up the night before. You got to know what's going on, and you got to be able to take whatever you did in the first game and put it in the rearview mirror and let it go, and whatever, and then step up and play the next game. The other thing that involved there, it's for the players. It's nice not to come to the park and sit through a human rain delay, all day on Sunday, because there's no way to play on Sunday. Great call by Jay and the staff and all the people at LSU, but also, like you said, Charlie, great experience for the kids. Playing a doubleheader is a tough thing. To keep that focus and concentration over 2 games is something that has to be learned. It's not something that's innate. You can't do that. You have to learn how to do it.
And especially this was a split doubleheader because there was about 2 hours or so between games. All right, Chase Shores, we wanted to see the pitch count extend a little bit. He threw 67 pitches on week 1. He threw 84 pitches in week number 2.
Yeah, extended up, got near that 90, which is what they're looking for, 85 to 90 pitch limit. And that extended him out, and that's a great job. He looked very, very good. Got a little shaky at the end of his stint when they pulled him. I think he got a little tired, but that's great stuff, and I'm sure he'll be back. And next week we'll see if he can extend and get close to that 95 to 100 pitch mark.
Well, it'll be. I'm wondering what the weather's going to be like. I was about to say it's going to be warmer, but I forgot the games on the weekend are outside. Only the game in the middle of the week is inside against Dallas Baptist. So I thought Shores was pretty sharp early. Like you, it maybe the velocity had ticked down a little bit there at the end, but he's such an important part of this team, Dan.
Well,
Chase Shores is every bit the number one draft pick, and I don't know if he's going to stay on Sunday or pitch somewhere else. But to me, from the very beginning, to get where they want to go, the Chase Shores is going to play a big role. So I'm happy to see him off to a good start.
to have he and Kate Anderson basically bookend number one pitchers on your staff is really a great thing. And Ianson looks very good in the middle. So however they put him out there, you got three good guys on the weekend. Let's hope that continues.
And Zach Cowan, who they got from Wofford, this was a Friday night guy last year, Dan. I understand it wasn't in the Southeastern Conference, but he looks to me to be a guy that they want to be an innings eater, and he's pitched in pressure situations for Wofford, so this wasn't much of a pressure situation here. LSU had a 5-run lead, and Omaha was run out of bullpen, but Cowan's been very effective so far. What have you seen?
I think he's been very effective. Look for him to kind of get a role that ended up being a very important one last year with the big right-hander from California. The name slips me. Number 26. I'm just drawing a blank.
Oh, Thatcher Hurd.
Thatcher Hurd.
Yeah.
Meaning, he's a guy that's going to come in. He can close. He can start. If you get in a regional, he's the guy that can, in postseason, he can come in. You get in a loser's bracket game, he's a battle-tested guy. So I think you really have a great talent and experience and competitiveness, which I like, in Cowan.
We're brought to you by Bayou Apparel, helping local businesses communicate their message since 2009 as one of only a few local LSU licensees. Bayou Apparel offers the highest quality products to showcase your brand, whether it's an established one or a new one. Bayou Apparel design experts can help you create eye-catching designs that fit your company's message. They do logos, event T-shirts, and promotional items for your business. Call 225-928-9090 or go to the website at bayouapparel.com. Third leadoff hitter in as many days for LSU, Tanner Reeves from Blinn Junior College took over in the leadoff spot. He had a couple of walks and drove in a run. I also thought he flashed a little leather over there at third base. Now, a couple of throws were wide, but Jones bailed him out. So we saw the third leadoff batter, and it seems to me, they're kind of experimenting up there at the top of the lineup.
Well, and he earned his spot in the lineup on Game 3 for the way he competed at the end of the game in Game 4. He gave a great at-bat when they needed it, and wasn't worried about when he came in the game. I'm not starting or anything. He just went up there and gave a great at-bat, and I think Jay recognized that and wanted to reward that. And so Reeves, of course, did a good job, battled in the leadoff spot, got an RBI, did some things. So scored a couple of runs. So very productive at the top of the lineup. I was watching the broadcast with Doug Thompson, and they brought out a thing about Reeves is he had more chances at third base, it seems, than Broswell had the whole season. It's like
Absolutely.
You new guy, and you put there, and the ball finds him.
Yeah, and I thought he did a good job at making some stops on some sharply hit balls, but a couple of the throws, in fact, one of them they had to review, and they got the overturn. It helps to have a gigantic first baseman over there like Jones.
That's right.
He was able to get a couple of stretches there that it kind of bailed him out, but thought Reeves acquitted himself pretty well over the weekend, and it's part of a bigger narrative, Dan, now through 7 games that the LSU position players really don't have an error. You had a catcher's interference on night number 1, and then you had a pop-up in foul territory that they ruled an error on, and then the other 2 errors are on the pitchers. So when you're talking about LSU's defense through 7 games, there's a lot to like.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, and I'm big on this. To have 3 shortstops playing your infield is really good, and Jones is a good first baseman. Very, very good. And so they're really solid in the infield. And over the course of 56 games, and when you get in the postseason, that defense is going to play. Remember, in baseball, defense and pitching always keeps you in a ball game.
Want to get to the games this week. I want to thank Dana Brown and law offices of O.C. Brown for over 20 years. Dana and his team of attorneys have carried on as far as the OC's legacy. So if you need legal advice, and we've used Dana for a number of things over the years, that first consultation is always free. They want to be your law firm for a lifetime. So whether you've been in an accident or you've got other legal needs, let them help you out. Call them at 343-1111, 225-343-1111. On the web, it's OC Brown, OSSIE Brown.com. Dana Brown, the law offices of OC Brown. Oh, and by the way, walk down from Dana's office to Town Square Pizza. Get some of the king cake. It's out of this
That's your
world.
place, Charlie. You like the king cake and the pizza.
Yeah, man, I'm a big fan of the Town Square Pizza King Cake. All right, a couple things about this week. We're taping this on Monday. LSU is playing Nicholls State tonight, so we're going to see. I'm fairly certain Gavin Guidry. They wanted him to pitch on Wednesday of last week. But what they're trying to do, Dan, more so than just this outing, is they're trying to stretch Gavin Guidry. He was a very good pitcher for LSU last year. Now they want to extend what he's doing and see if he can give him some long relief, see if he can give him some starts in addition to if he does have to close again. So what's that transition like for a pitcher when we're trying to stretch him out when they've primarily been a bullpen guy?
I think, as long as you start and ramp it up starting in the fall, you'll be fine. Guidry's got the kind of stuff that can work with that. I think the big thing is you don't max effort every pitch. You learn to move the ball around the strike zone, get ahead in the counts. And, of course, he's a great competitor, wearing number 8, all the right things with Gavin Guidry. But I see him as, again, much like Cowan, he could be a guy to be that long reliever, the guy that ends up pitching in a regional, pitches in the 4-hole. If somebody gets hurt, he can step into the weekend because of all that experience. So I think it's good. Remember, he can always drop back and be a closer or reliever if they need him. But trying to extend him is good. And the big thing is Gavin wants that. And so as long as he's bought in, I think it's going to be a wholehearted effort for him to make that transition.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you about the game on Wednesday. They're going to Frisco, Texas, but to play 3 games next weekend. They're going to play Kansas State, Nebraska, and Sam Houston. But before that, they're going to go to Globe Life Field, which is the home of the Texas Rangers, and they're going to play Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist is a top 20 team, Dan. Over the last decade, they've established themselves as a real power in college baseball. It's likely to be Nebraska dropped out of the rankings this past weekend, so it's likely to be LSU's highest-ranked non-conference opponent that they'll face probably all year, but definitely before conference play starts. So I ask you, I noticed William Schmidt didn't pitch this past weekend. That would be a heck of an ask to see what the young guy who's uber talented. We're going to throw you in against the ranked team, and we're going to put you in a big league park. Or is that a little bit much to ask at this point?
I think it's too much to ask. I think you'll see Schmidt throw tonight is what I'd see in relief.
Okay.
I'm going to make a little call. Don't be surprised if Cowan doesn't start that game.
A guy with some experience, you can bring him back. Okay.
Right, because you want to keep your pitching in line, your weekend guys, so you can extend them and they get the proper amount of rest. Cowan pitched a little in relief. He's been a starter. He knows what to do. That may be the guy to go out there and try to get 4 or 5 innings out of him.
Like to see the main bullpen guys get in against Dallas Baptist too.
Right.
Rizzi,
It'll be a nice game
Rizzi.
to watch. It'll be a good test for the Tigers.
Looking forward to it. All right. Those are your 5 games actually this week with the one tonight, Dallas Baptist on Wednesday, and then Kansas State, Nebraska, and Sam Houston from Frisco, Texas over the weekend. For Dan Canevari, I'm Charles Hanagriff. This has been the Handycast.